again, Peter from Universal Dork, back at ya, with another episode of Trapped on VHS. Now today we're going to be covering a movie that I just watched last night. It was actually a rewatch at a movie night we did at the shop. It's a movie called Mute Witness. Now I had seen this movie for the first time, I'd say about a year ago. I had seen the cover of this thing all over the place. I mean, it's got a very memorable cover, I'll say that much. But the cover really doesn't do it justice. I saw somewhere online that this movie was pretty interesting and actually deserves a lot more credit. So I decided to do a little eBay search because I wanted to grab a VHS copy of this thing. Now the funny thing is I have a dollar rack at the store that I roll out onto the sidewalk. It's all $1 VHS. And some of the movies have been sitting on that particular rack for, it seems like, an eternity. But the day after I was doing research on Mute Witness and really wanting to check it out, the curiosity was high. I was pulling the VHS cart onto the sidewalk, and I immediately spotted Mute Witness was actually already there and was actually already mine. So I quickly grabbed it from the $1 cart and brought it home with me and gave it a whirl. And I'll tell you, Mute Witness delivers the fucking goods. Mute Witness is a 1995 horror thriller directed by Anthony Waller, and I was a bit astounded to find out what else this guy was responsible for making. And surprisingly, I saw that he's the director of An American Werewolf in Paris, a fucking terrible movie that should have been awesome. And now I even tried to rewatch that movie recently in the shop on this little TV VCR. Movies like this really are the reason why the 90s get such a bad reputation for horror movies. The CGI werewolf is fucking awful. There's a few scenes where they use a practical werewolf, but the whole thing is just an embarrassment to the franchise. But don't be discouraged by that. Mute Witness is top notch. A little bit of a spoiler here, but no big deal, is that it's one of the last movie appearances of Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi himself. And he sort of comes out of nowhere. I watched it with a group of people, and the second that he shows up, everyone sort of lit up when they saw him. The odd thing is apparently Anthony Waller ran into Alec Guinness, I guess it was around 9 years before the filming of Mute Witness, and asked Alec Guinness to film this short cameo sequence. Now, I don't know if he was thinking that it was going to be used for this movie or not, but Alec Guinness actually agreed to do this cameo for free. And he's been known to be quite a sweetheart, so that's pretty cool. So it almost seems like maybe he reworked the plot to bring this sort of epic scene with Guinness into the movie. It was filmed in Russia. It was actually Moscow, to be more specific. It features an American film crew who we follow inside of a gigantic warehouse that's got a film set inside of it. It's mega creepy. And we see this woman, the main character, Billy. She is a special effects artist. She cannot speak, hence Mute Witness. We get introduced to all of her co-workers. The director of this film that they're doing is a total douchebag. You're pretty much waiting the entire movie rooting for someone to kill this guy because he is absolutely annoying, but in the best way possible. Billy's working on this film, and when they wrap for the day, she is locked inside by a security guard who wanders off away from the building. She's inside this creepy warehouse in this city that she's not very familiar with. She calls some of the crew members to find out, hey, I got locked in, is there a way that I can get out? And they alert her to a little key that she can get out of, sort of an emergency, like a red emergency box that you break the glass and you grab the key. And she's sort of wandering around. She hears some funny noises. She goes into this room. The door's ajar a little bit. She walks in and sees that they're filming a porno. And she sort of laughs about it a little bit. And she's sort of peeking onto the set behind everyone. I believe one of the people, the guy that's directing the film, is actually maybe part of her actual crew. So she's watching them film this scene of these two people having sex. It looks a little bit weird. The guy's wearing some strange mask. And before you know it, things get real dark. The guy starts hitting the woman, and then all of a sudden pulls out a knife. And Billy, our special effects artist, main character, realizes that what she's actually seeing is a snuff film in progress. And she flips out like any of us would, turns around, tries to run out of the room, makes some noise, disrupts this 3-person film crew. She is running through this warehouse trying to find a way to hide from these guys. They immediately know that someone has seen this particular criminal, horrific event that they just committed take place on film. She runs off, and then it's basically a game of cat and mouse. Tension is just through the fucking roof here. This is an interesting film because it has a very serious and frightening tone to it, but it also at the same time has a sort of playful comedic element to it that I personally love. I thought everything about this was completely charming, terrifying, and exhilarating. There's some great action sequences. There's also a level of conspiracy going on here as well, trying to figure out who's in cahoots with who. At some point you just think, just get the fuck out of Moscow, take the first plane, and never come back. But this all happens I think that this whole movie happens in the course of one evening. And things just get crazier and crazier. Because, as you might guess, the director and the killer in the snuff film, they're not going to let her off the hook after what she's seen and what she's been privy to. And around this time is when we realize that there are darker, larger forces at play here, one which involves the great cameo by Obi-Wan Kenobi himself. She gets in touch with the cops. No one believes her. It's interesting to watch some of these scenes unfold with her being unable to speak and get out the words that she needs to get out to these certain people. Some of the crew members who don't believe her. The police, there's a language barrier as well. She can't speak the language, and she actually can't speak at all. So there's a lot of interesting aspects of this film that come into play when all of those factors are taken into consideration, which makes Mute Witness such an enjoyable movie to watch. Another thing that you might think is sort of stupid, but I'm obsessed with I like to call it 1980s blue electricity effect. So that's where they hand draw on the cells of movie frames. They'll hand draw and animate electricity going on. This film incorporates that in a really amazing sequence as well. So props for that as well. It was a complete surprise to me that this was going to be anything worth talking about. I was sure that this thing was going to be one of those rare trapped on DVD, trapped on VHS films, and it was announced that Arrow Video is doing a 4K release of Mute Witness. So we're ahead of the curve here. And the funny thing is I watched this particular movie last night with two of my friends that do the Arrow Video podcast. So that was really fun. I'm sure that they're going to talk about this movie. They do a show called VHS Quest as well as the Arrow Video podcast. I think they'll probably talk about it on both, but you should check out VHS Quest. Super great podcast. These Blu-ray companies can take these movies that no one maybe cares about, or something like this that has been sitting on my $1 VHS cart for literally I don't know how long. No one wanted it. Arrow Video will do a restoration of the film, give it the extras, and suddenly everyone will be like,
fucking Mute Witness, god damn it, I fucking love that shit.
And before I couldn't get rid of this thing for $1. Check this one out. You might as well just wait for the Arrow Video release of it. It looks great on VHS though, I can attest to that. But I think you can find this for pretty cheap online. So if you're a VHS collector, you're going to want to grab a copy of this. And if you also collect Blu-rays, you're going to need Mute Witness.